Welcome. My name is Gabriela Phoenix. I'm a goddess, Reiki master, life coach, whole food plant-based lifestyle advocate, and sacral womb healing evangelist. I believe in sacred harmony between the divine feminine and the divine masculine within us all. I believe that is the key to creating heaven on earth for each and every one of us. I'll talk about all of these topics and more. I'm honored to be of service to you and your loved ones. Today, I want to talk about the importance of discernment when it comes to feeding our daughters, granddaughters, wives, girlfriends, hormonal contraceptives, and other pharma medication that is out there. So it's been on my mind for quite some time. I've been studying nutrition for at least 5 years. And I've been studying it from the angle of food is my medicine. And food and lifestyle can change and heal close to everything, except for, a broken limb. And so I started reading this book. It is called The Fifth Vital Sign by Lisa Hendrickson-Jack. Don't be fooled by the cover. I know it says master your cycles and optimize your fertility. It's not just about fertility. It's about the industry as it stands, the Western industry as it stands, and how to take your power back and be in control of managing your body in relation to your sexual activity and being your best self, being healthy, being happy, having high serotonin levels, and not even realizing that your period is coming. That's powerful. So I know that a lot of people give their daughters, the prescription of a doctor, they subscribe to giving the women in their lives hormonal contraceptives. And so I wanted to read the warning signs and the warning label that come with those contraceptives. Hormonal contraceptives increase your mortality rate by increasing your risk of developing deep vein thrombosis, cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer, liver cancer, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, low libido, loss of sex drive, irritability, intrusive thoughts, emotional outbursts, mood disorder, persistent HPV infection, cervical dysplasia, weight gain, insomnia, fatigue, uncontrollable crying, suicidal thoughts, increased tendency towards anger and aggression, hopelessness. So, as the world is not challenging and constantly changing enough, we want to add these hormonal contraceptives to the mix and to put these hormones into women's bodies, into our daughters that, if they're going through their adolescent years, that amplifies their symptoms tenfold. So, that makes you take pause, right? Or at least it makes me take pause. Contraceptive practices that are natural are easy to learn. It takes up to 2 months to learn your body and how it responds, and to figure out when you're fertile, when you are not, and what are your windows of fertility. It's up to 8 days of fertility, nothing more than that. And so what I'm preaching for on my little soapbox is to encourage women to learn their body, to take their power back from the Western medicine and the Western way of just putting a Band-Aid over a problem that can easily be figured out on our own, because we're all very capable of doing that. Taking our power back, using nutrition to mellow out the PMS, to mellow out the cramps to the point of not having cramps. So I had insane cramps and PMS 6 years ago. I was not on hormonal contraceptives such as the pill, the patch, or the vaginal ring. However, I was on an omnivore diet, and I was eating a lot of dairy, and I was eating a lot of processed food. And so I switched to being vegan. And I had ovarian cysts as well at the time. And I've been through 3 or 4 procedures at that point where they scraped my uterus to clear out the cysts. And that problem resurfaced. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing that to my uterus again. I'm not doing it. And so I went to an Ayurvedic doctor, and she told me to eat eat this, don't eat that, a whole bunch of different vegetables, and cut down things. And one of the things that she told me to cut down was fat. And at that point I was vegan. So even by being vegan, I was still experiencing the same symptoms of having ovarian cysts. And so she told me just cut out avocados, for example, which is a fat. It's a healthy fat, but I think as a culture, we're encouraged to make sure that we have fat in our diet because, it's good for the brain. And I am not disputing that. I agree with that 100%. You should have healthy fats in your life. But because I didn't really have the education at that time of what constitutes a healthy fat versus a non-healthy fat. And avocados are healthy, don't get me wrong, but I was eating processed food at that time. And so if you look at the labels, processed food is high in fat and unhealthy, terrible, vegetable oils that are incredibly processed and toxic for your body. And also salt and preservatives and all this other stuff. And so I followed her suit. I followed her directions. And Lord and behold, my ovarian cysts were gone. Then to fast forward 6 months or so after I switched to being plant-based, I noticed that my cramps and my low energy and my moods, all those were gone just by switching my diet. And that was incredible. And then fast forward a couple of years later, I started, my cramps were gone, but I started having, tender breasts and real tender. I was like, this cannot stand. But at the same time, I did not want to take any pharma medication. So I went to my acupuncturist, and he was like, well, have you considered seed cycling? And I was like, what is that? And so I practiced seed cycling. They say that it takes up to 6 months or 3 months to get relief. And for me personally, it worked within like a month and a half, like 2 months. I felt a huge difference. No more breast tenderness, nothing. And you can learn more about that in Neal Barnard's book. His book is called Your Body is in Balance. And I will put that in the description, in the podcast description as well. Fascinating book. You can learn more about how to customize your diet so that you work with your body and not against your body. So yeah, that is where I stand on that. But just in case you need more ammunition as to why women should get off the hormonal contraceptives, they impair your body's ability to metabolize tryptophan, which normally is done by depleting vitamin B. Vitamin B decreases your serotonin production if it's low and if it's depleted, and thus increasing your symptoms of depression. Serotonin, as we know, is a neurotransmitter that contributes to feeling of well-being and happiness. And tryptophan is an essential amino acid. And your body requires both tryptophan and vitamin B to synthesize serotonin. I did not realize any of this. And it makes so much sense because while I was on the pill and the patch and all of those things in college, my mood swings were absolutely insane. And if you read the fifth vital sign, you'll see that you're not alone. I was not alone. And you'll see that there is another way to getting to know your body, getting to know your uterus, and not abuse it. So, while I choose to be passionate about the subject, I also choose not to be angry, but grateful and happy that I have found this information. I challenge you to use discernment. Use discernment in the information that I've shared with you. Use discernment in what your Western doctor is telling you. And use discernment in everything that comes your way and your heart or vagina, because they all have power, very strong power, tell you that it's safe to move forward. So use discernment. It is your most powerful tool. I love you.